Ah, welcome. Warm yourself by the fire. Have a seat or snuggle up in your favorite spot. And let me tell you a couple of poems. Our son was born so long ago, and yet it seems like yesterday that I stood in awe before his crib and heard the doctor say, "You've quite a boy there, Mr. Jones." I could only answer with a nod, for in his very being there, I saw the miracle of God. Later, in his high chair in a manner I deplored, I saw that miracle of God throw his oatmeal on the floor. Well, I fixed him something different, for I felt he must be fed, but when I turned around again, that bowl was on his head. Well, a few more years rolled along, and he didn't spill things anymore. But his granddad sent a big bass drum, and once more I deplored the fact that my miracle of God had a lusty taste for noise. When he'd boom, boom, boom on that big bass drum, I questioned, boys must be boys? I asked his whereabouts one day. His mom said he got a paper route, said he'd helped earn his way as he became an Eagle Scout. Well, they pinned that medal on him. Tears welled in my eyes. Then I gripped his mother's hand. Our boy had earned his prize. I won't forget that September day when he entered senior high. We had an air of great excitement, but he left home with a sigh. He came back that afternoon and gave us some puzzled looks. "Wow," he said, "this school is tough. Look at all these books." "Now, the choice is yours," his mother said. "You can pick the easy way. What you put into life, you'll get out of it. Each man pays his price one day." He looked up, then he smiled. I saw he'd lost his gloom. He said, "I better take a look at these," and he headed for his room. My son came home late one day. He seemed all worn out, and, well, I asked a little sharply what this was all about. He spoke proudly, threw his shoulders back, and in his eyes I caught a gleam. "Well, I wanted to surprise you, Dad. I'm on the football team." Well, they won most of their games. They lost few. It was a thrill to watch him play. When they didn't win, we knew he'd met the challenge anyway. Well, he didn't know it at the time, but it was a stepping stone. Solid footing for the climb to face life on his own. How those 3 years flew past. When graduation came, we saw our boy grown up at last, and our lives will never be the same. I guess we've known it all along what his goal would be from that time 3 years ago when he chose responsibility. He stood in the doorway yesterday, put out a strong right hand, and I held back tears at the uniform he wore to protect his land. I shook his hand, and his mother cried, "Son, why couldn't you wait?" Embracing her, he softly said, "Mom, if we all did, it'd be too late. Well, I promise I'll go back to school when I've met my obligations to you, my friends, my girl, my school, and most of all this nation. I'll do all I can out there, for I know you both will be making everyone you know aware that you've got to keep Old Glory flying." Then his mother straightened up, and with a smile to hide a tear, she said, "We're both so proud of you, and we'll feel lost without you here. Someday, you'll know what this moment means when your boy shakes your hand, and you watch him as he walks away, the day he becomes a man." On a trail drive from Texas down by the Rio Grande, we drove past the Medina to a dry and bitter land where, before the longhorns streamed along, grass range once was there. Now we herded them in silence with a feeling of despair. Well, the day was hot and the wind was dry. The mesquite barred the way. The maguey and the cactus tried to drain our lives away. We came up to a ranch house, dying in the desert sun. We looked the old spread over and couldn't see anyone. Then from the ranch house, a man stepped out. He was old beyond his years. A viejo caballero whose eyes filled up with tears. "I have nothing for you, senors," he said. "My hacienda's empty now." There was a time. He shook his head and gave a gentle bow. I asked him why he stayed on in a place where hope was dead. He looked up at me, and his face grew soft. And this is what he said. "Mis raíces están aquí." My roots are buried here. Now, I've punched cattle from the Rio Grande to the cold Montana plains. I've pushed them through New Mexico and through Arizona rains. I've seen ranchers hang on when it's been 45 below, and the thoughts always crossed my mind as to why they just don't go to somewhere where life is easier, where nature's not so hard. And then the past comes floating back, and I'm in that viejo's yard. I think of him and his quiet pride, and of the things that he has done. And I know that if men battle back the snow or the broiling sun, they'll live their responsibilities to the land that they love best. America will proudly stand, and in her vigil will not rest. For no matter what may lie ahead, the answer is always loud and clear. Mis raíces están aquí. My roots are buried here. It was July in Virginia. The scent of the dogwood and the laurel lay heavy on the land, while the burgeoning fruit of the peach and the apple marked the full sway of summer. For 7 fateful days, the trees, the flowers, yes, the very ground itself, had shuddered under the roar of cannon, the bark of howitzers, and the crackling of a legion of rifles. Now, all was silent. The sledgehammer blows of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson had mauled the Army of the Potomac, and yet that army was not destroyed. 7,000 men had fallen in that dreadful week, and the savagery of the conflict was grimly evident in the river of wounded that wound through the green hills. And now a new sound drifted in the soft evening sky. For Colonel Dan Butterfield, a courageous and able soldier, was also a man of music. To honor his fallen comrades, he had composed a simple and heart-rending melody. On July 2nd, in the year of 1862, its strains floated over the graves that scarred the dark Virginia earth. We know this tune and song as taps. It has been more than 100 years since that sound was born, but these notes have never died away. Every night of the year, throughout the world, fighting men and women of America, from the north and the south, the east and the west, close their eyes and sleep to its call, and in each of their hearts there glows a fierce surge of pride. If you like these stories and poems, subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for future stories. And as always, I thank you for taking the time to listen. The end.